What's your first name?
Graham.
Graham, thanks a lot. And first of all, what is he like? Is he a lazy so-and-so?
Yeah, he's top notch.
Get on you, excellent.
He's alright.
Graham, I've got loads of time for Jeremy. I first met Jeremy in 1989, went down to speak to the campaign group of MPs down in Westminster when I was the chairman of the All Britain Anti-Poll Tax Federation, or chairman of the Scottish Federation, and I got elected All Britain Federation. I went down there to ask for their support for the mass non-payment campaign, and Jeremy was one of the most forthright supporters along with Tony Benn, and it was a delight to meet him. And ever since then, I've got to say, and the reason he's doing so well is because he's speaking with his heart. He's actually telling the truth about what he believes in. All the rest of them are so bloody phony, everybody can see through them. No wonder they're not getting support. So as far as I'm concerned, I think Jeremy being elected the leader of the Labour Party will be brilliant for the left in England. I think it will give them something to rally around, something to have some faith in. Jeremy and I disagree on the question of independence. But you know what? The difference between him and the likes of Murphy and all the rest of them, we could sit and have a reasonable, informed debate about it that wasn't about bullying, it wasn't about fear tactics. We might end up disagreeing because Jeremy's position will be we need a British road to socialism instead of a Scottish road to socialism. I think he's wrong. I think John Maclean, my hero, was right in 1923 when he talked about the need for a Scottish workers' republic. And from my point of view, I think it's an advantage and it's an advance for ordinary progressive people, not just in Scotland, England, Wales, but across the whole of Europe, for somebody like Jeremy Corbyn to get elected. The thing is, I think the fireworks are going to begin after he's elected, because I don't think the Labour hierarchy is going to sit in the laurels. They're going to try and undermine them.
Well, two-thirds of the way down from England is true Tory blue, isn't it, really?
Well, do you know,
apart from London and certain areas around the cities, it's all blue all the way down.
But do you know what's in between all of that, Graham, and this is what we've always got to remember. You've got to remember that something of the order of over 30% of those communities don't vote. Why are they not voting? Because nobody's engaging them. Nobody's engaging them. Labour's lost millions of votes. Those lost millions of votes haven't automatically went to the Tories or anybody else. Some of them actually went to UKIP because they've sounded more bloody radical, unfortunately, even though it's poison that they're coming out with. So from my point of view, when somebody like Jeremy gets in, if he does, and if they allow him to stay the leader, I think he will re-engage with a whole layer, particularly young people who think that politics is a pile of mince and don't want anything to do with it. I think he could engage with them, and that will perhaps give them support.
So how would you work with Jeremy? Did you connect with them?
Absolutely. Jeremy and I are Facebook friends. We've had conversations in the past about independence. We private message each other. We always wish each other happy birthday, all that stuff. I think if he's the leader of the Labour Party at Westminster, then at last you're going to have a progressive alliance against the Tories. Instead of abstentions against welfare cuts, you'll actually have votes against welfare cuts, which would be an advantage. But I also think, if you think about it, public ownership, gas, public ownership, electricity, for goodness sakes, it's black and white, it's so common sense that you have that. And you know what? Pushes the SNP a wee bit. Because SNP right now don't stand for that. They should, but they don't. I always remember, I don't know if, I'm sorry to take his back a wee bit here, but I always remember Rory Bremner. I like Rory Bremner. I always used to like Rory Bremner. I used to have a sketch, Rory Bremner. And this wee sketch was two guys, two friends in the pub. And one friend says to the other friend, "Oh, you're looking awful glum tonight. What's up with you? What's up with you? Why are you so glum?" And the friend says, "Oh, it's terrible." He says, "I got my car stolen last night." And his pal says, "Oh, that's terrible." And his mate says, "Oh, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. How's it worse than that?" "The guy who stole my car chapped my door this morning. He's offered to sell it back to me." And his mate says, "But that's theft." And his mate says, "No, that's privatisation." And that's exactly what it is, isn't it? We owned gas. We owned the electricity. We owned the telecommunications. What did they do, the Tories? They privatised it and then had the cheek to say, "Hey, buddy, would you want to buy some shares?" Why would you want to buy some shares when we owned the bloody thing in the first place? Let's take it back. I'm so glad that Jeremy is fighting on that platform, and I hope that pushes the SNP.
But also
to
meant
left.
that your policy about the pharmaceutical companies would be something that he could add to his thing to be.
Absolutely.
That's an incredible policy.
Absolutely. Of
The
course it is.
lies from what they've said. It's all out there.
It's there, Graham, black and white. I hope you're not just going to be a good talker, by the way, Brett. Get him a membership. Get him a membership card. Any other red points? Yes, Lee. And then yourself, Rob.
Thanks so much. I'm probably going to bore everybody now, but I think, all of us here are probably on the left. You're all speaking about equality, higher wages, better jobs for folk. And it's great. I think partly we're probably tinkering around the edges a wee bit unless we deal with the bigger problem, and that's the state of our economy at the moment. And I apologise for anybody who works in supermarkets here, but a lot of the jobs we've created, or this government's created, have been unpaid jobs, have been 0-hour contract jobs, have been temporary jobs, part-time. Those kind of jobs aren't great. You can't live off those kind of jobs. And if you go back 40, 50, 60, 70 years, we had manufacturing in Britain and in Scotland. We can go into things like mining and steelworks. And it sounds a bit of a cliche now, but it's a fact that you went into these jobs without any great qualifications. And they weren't just jobs you could have for a great length of time, they were also high-paying jobs. We don't have anything like that anymore, and we need to get to a situation where we can, let working class folk go into jobs where they don't have to have, qualifications up to their eyeballs, but they can go into jobs that are high-paying and do last a long time, aren't temporary. So how do we get to that kind of society and that kind of situation?
Lee, I can't disagree with your analysis there, and what you're really talking about is retooling our country. What you're talking about is reskilling our country, because when we're talking about young people who used to go into shipyards, or young people who used to go into mines, or young people who used to go into the steel mills, they went in there without qualifications, and they come out with qualifications because they got apprenticeships, they got trained on the job, they got their papers, and it's from that point of view we've lost the idea of making things. Scotland used to be world renowned for making things. Why don't we get back to making things instead of answering the phone to each other? Because that's why you've got call centres all over the bloody place where seem to be, because we've got nice voices, get the call centres up in Scotland. Let's start to invest in manufacturing, let's invest in education. If we want smaller class sizes, that means more teachers. Let's train more teachers. And at the end of the day, this is another question which probably not going to go into all tonight. But when I was in the Scottish Parliament, there was a bill that I put through Parliament with the support of the Rail Maritime and Transport Workers Union, the RMT. And this bill was to take the railways back into public ownership in Scotland. I always remember when I looked at the analysis of the way the railways is run in Scotland. What they do is they say subsidy plus profit minus revenue, and that's what makes up the bills for how much you have to pay towards the railways. So profit, subsidy minus revenue. So the way you can bring down the subsidy is by increasing the prices that people pay. And I looked at that and I said, wait a minute, profit plus subsidy, why don't we take that bit away, the profit bit, and just a subsidy in revenue? See if we're no having to give somebody profit to run our railways, maybe we can reduce the prices to run our railways. So I introduced this public ownership bill for the railways. The first thing the presiding officer did, he sent it to the lawyers, and the lawyers said, we think it will contravene European competition law because they support the free market. And then later on that very year, CalMac came up for tendering. And I said, why are we tendering CalMac? It's an essential service. It's an essential service for our islands. Why would competition law, European Union demands that we put it out to tender. The reason I'm raising this, the European Union, I think, should never get lumped in with the campaign for independence. The SNP last year, I thought they were naughty because they assumed, one, that everybody supported keeping the pound. I don't support keeping the pound. I don't want the Bank of England to have anything to do with an independent Scotland. I want us to develop our own currency here in an independent Scotland. But also I've got to say to you, I don't think it's automatic at all that because you support independence you also support staying in the European Union. Not at all. Not at all. The European Union is a boss's club. Go and read the Copenhagen criteria. In order to join the European Union, you have to sign up to the Copenhagen criteria. What does it say? A, you must have a free market economy, and B, you must promote a free market economy. That's the Copenhagen criteria. I don't want to support a free market economy. I want part of our economy run by the people, for the people. Gas, electricity, oil, transport. I don't want the fish and chip shops. I don't want the taxi companies. I don't want them. But I want the big concerns that affect people's lives not to be run for private profiteers, but to be run for the benefit of the people. So from my point of view, Lee, we've got to invest in retooling, retraining. That means building things again. And by the way, there's no, I mean, it could have been done differently. But look at Port Glasgow right now. There's a shipyard, Ferguson. It was getting closed. Now they're talking about taking on up to 1,000 workers and actually building ships again. Because somebody invested. I'd have liked to have seen that somebody be the government invest. But in this case it was a millionaire invested in it because he saw that there was going to be a market. Why can we not replicate that all across the country in different forms of manufacturing, Lee? So that we give people jobs that they can be proud of. And by the way, in saying that, because you made a point, I know you don't mean it this way, but you made a point about, you know, people working in supermarkets, call centres, they can't live on it, right? That's not their fault. Because the supermarkets, the call centres are making a packet, it's just that they're not paying their workers a decent wage. So I don't want to undermine anybody that's doing those jobs, I mean, we all use supermarkets, we all need these services, so we should be respecting those workers and we should be paying them a decent wage, a living wage. So that, and again, I'm sorry to bore you with this, but one of the other wee concepts I remember, Lee, and if you know a wee bit about economics yourself, you'll remember it. It's called the marginal propensity to consume. Now, it might sound like a highfalutin term, but it's actually very, very simple. What it means is an economic law, and what it means is, see if you give a millionaire an extra tenner a week, they don't spend it. They put it in the bank because they've already got everything they need. See if you give a low-paid worker an extra tenner a week, it gets spent, it's productive. So the marginal propensity to consume dictates that it's economically important and viable and virtuous to pay people better wages because they'll spend the wages and that creates jobs and services for everybody else in the other sectors of the economy. It's not rocket science, it's economics. Yes, there was a chap behind you and then the young lady there. Oh God, my answers are going to be shorter by the way. I'm realising I'm too long, my answers, sorry.
There was, I was living in Bath, I met my missus and she did a 4-year degree to get a university degree for doing nursery teaching in Bath. And she did a lot of, preschool education, which she did. I persuaded her to move up to, for all years here, I persuaded her to move here for a better quality of life, if any of you know Bath, for a better quality of life so that, she earn a living for what she was worth doing for a 4-year degree. Because she used to be like, for 4 years degree, being a preschool child, I'm earning £5 an hour. She's moved up to Aberdeen and we earn a lot, she's earned a little bit more. The problem being is people see preschool education and they're looking to see the cost of it, but they don't understand the people who are teaching in Scotland have got like 4-year degrees earning £5 an hour. She's on more than that now, she's on a decent wage now. But how do we persuade people in this country to understand, or how do we get it to a situation where the preschool teachers, and to get a good qualification thing, because they're the most important thing, to boost up our economy, and to explain to people that preschool education, there's a big fee amongst it, but it's worth it, and how do we get it so that we can get our teachers in preschool and primary school and secondary school to earn a really decent wage, and not to be taken away by private companies and they make the profits, but so the actual people who are doing the actual work get the money, and so that they see, so it's seen that it's for a 4-year degree job, it should be something you have pride in, rather than getting, oh, you're just a little nursery teacher, you don't mean nothing, and as I say, we moved from Bath to Aberdeen because we knew in Scotland that the education system, she gets paid a fair wage here. But to try to explain to people that
it's worth
paying a nursery teacher £10 an hour so that they can teach. What's the most important thing
What's your first name?
Sam.
Sam, I don't think you're going to find anybody in here who's going to disagree with your analysis there.
How did we do it?
I remember when I was in the Scottish Parliament, we had a nursery nurse strike in Glasgow that lasted almost a year. Two of our candidates in Glasgow are candidates because they joined Solidarity on the basis of the fact that I was very proud every day before I went to work. I went to the picket line first to show solidarity with the nursery nurses, and then in Edinburgh I would visit the picket lines there when I was in Edinburgh, because at the end of the day we've got to grasp that the most important part of a child's life is that first 5, 6, 7 years of their life. Oh, if you look at the Nordic countries, how much time and effort they invest in those first preschool years, because they don't go to school till later on than our children. They invest so heavily in it. Why? Because they want high literacy rates, they want high intelligence, they want their kids to be well educated, well-rounded individuals. We've got to learn. Look at these countries. You've got less than 5% poverty rate, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. Here in Scotland, 25% poverty rate. Poverty is not natural. Nothing natural about it. It's just that we're not investing properly in our resources. People say, oh, but they've got high taxes over there. But they've got high wages as well. And that's the point that we need to get to grips with.
We've got decent wages. My missus, she came in, she moved, it's one of the things we had a wee giggle at. She moved from the south of England up to north of Scotland, and she's doubled her wages, because in Scotland we appreciate what nursery teachers do. But what we need to do is we need to get it out onto the general consensus of how do we make sure that everyone in society understands that everything starts, from the preschool all the way up. How we can...
Sam, we've got to do it by constantly raising these issues. I'll give you a quick example. In 2002, I introduced a second private members bill to the Scottish Parliament. Some of you may remember it. It was for free and healthy school meals for every child. Right?
Yes.
I hated the idea, because I remember it from my own school days. I hated the idea that the kids who were poor get the free school meal ticket. Right? It was stigmatising, it was horrible. From my point of view, I wanted every child to get a free and a healthy, nutritious school meal. And I used Norway as an example. Norway used to have a worse coronary heart disease record than Scotland. Norway used to have a diabetes epidemic. Norway used to have a terrible diet. Norway is now the top country in the planet as far as diet is concerned. They've tackled their coronary heart disease, they've tackled their diabetes. What are we left with? We're left with terrible diabetes 2 problems. We're left with terrible dietary problems. And people used to say to me, oh, but you'll never change, you'll never change. How can you start changing if you don't start somewhere? You need to start somewhere. These things don't change overnight. It takes 10, 20 years before these things change. And that's what I would say about the point you're making, Sam. We need to lay the seeds of the importance of preschool education. We might not want it right away, but we're laying the seeds. When I laid the seeds for the free school meal bill, everybody laughed at me. The Liberal Democrats voted against it. Last year the Liberal Democrats introduced it in England. How funny is that? It just shows you.
When I lived in Bath, I had free school meals in Bath, and they used to have a thing called Diner Says Ava school meals are great. I was cynical. I went up to Edinburgh and had free school meals in Edinburgh, and they were fucking shocking, to be honest with you.
Compared to what they were in Bath.
As a vegetarian in the 1980s, they tried to give me white pudding as a vegetarian option. I mean, it was like, what the fuck? However, and half it again is, with the preschool thing is, in England they produced these really good free school meals, and then they got rid of all the
Staff.
They got rid of it all, and they all went into. But it used to be in Edinburgh, it was shocking.
I'm going to
Would it not
stop
be
you.
worth a while for us to make sure that we make sure that in every primary school we've got a canteen that can cook home meals
Absolutely.
for everyone.
Use local produce and everything. It's all there. It's common sense. Common sense.
In England, when we went on free school meal things, we went away, we get given a packed lunch with crisps. Everything was made on site. I moved up to Edinburgh and it was just shocking. How can we get Scotland to make sure that these things you know, invest in.
Sam, the simple question is, by electing MSPs that are going to raise these things, by electing councillors that are going to fight for these things, so that's what we've got to do. The sister, yourself, yeah.
You mentioned during the direct that, well, you didn't support the banking suggestion, the SNP supported that, let's share the pound, and I'm inclined to agree with you actually that I don't necessarily think that sharing the pound would work because, well, one, we've seen the issues with the euro. What's the mechanics of disengaging, of, you know, that's what nobody seems to have an answer to. What's your views on that?
What's your first name?
Serena.
Serena, it's very, very simple, Serena. My opinion is we should have fought the referendum on the basis that we were going to form our own Scottish currency. That Scottish currency would have been based on our exports, our food, our energy. We have got a strong economy. We've got to remember, for 33 years in a row, 33 years in a row, please remember that, 33 years in a row, we've sent more money to Westminster in revenue than we got back in revenue. So we're no subsidy junkies. We're an economy that is sustainable. We could have built our own currency based on our economic output, and I think it would have grown. It would have been a very strong currency. What we should have done, in my opinion, is we should have announced that there would be a transitional period of 2 to 3 years where we would have shared the pound before moving to a Scottish currency. I think that would have undercut some of the arguments from the fearmongers. They were saying, oh, but if you do that, if you keep with the pound, we won't really control our affairs. The Bank of England will still control interest rates. And they're right. Why? I don't want the Bank of England controlling interest rates. How dare the Bank of England control interest rates here in Scotland? If we need low interest rates, if we need higher interest rates, Scotland should take those decisions. I want to invest. Lee talked earlier about investing in shipyards and steel and other manufacturing. How are you going to do that? You need to raise money. You need to pump money into your economy in order to pay for these public works programmes. If you're relying on the Bank of England and saying, we need some money, and they say, oh no, we don't think that's a good idea, how independent are you then? So from my point of view, I think we've got to take up that economic argument. I think I spoke to you earlier actually, just as a wee aside. I was over earlier with my wife Gail at the Lombardo across the road there having a snack before coming to the meeting, and there was a group of 4 lads talking a foreign language at the table. And being nosy as I was, I says to Gail, is that German they're talking? And of course, when I went to the toilet, Gail started gabbing away to them, and it turns out that they weren't German. They took a wee bit of disregard to that actually, a bit like us I suppose when people ask if we're English when we go abroad. But anyway, it turns out they're from Liechtenstein. Population of 36,000. But they're independent. And we think we can't be independent with 5 million. Come on, let's get a grip.
I remember when Australia started using the dollar instead of the pound, and oh my God, how Australia failed. I know that never happened. Sorry about that.
Thanks, brother. There was a chap at the back, and then yourself at the back, and then.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Sandy.
You touched on corporate power, Tommy, with respect to the pharmaceutical and big pharma. Others have spoken already about the food industry. Scotland has the worst diet on physical health record in the world. How solidarity? There has to be some influence on the food that we're eating from the state, because it's the very food that we eat is causing enormous amounts of. And it's a very interesting point about the preschool meals. Can you expand upon that?
Solidarity's belief is that our food industry needs much more regulation. The food manufacturers, in particular the supermarkets, have got a monopoly. They can dictate the prices that the farmers are getting for their milk and their other produce. Many farmers who work damn hard are ending up not even being able to survive, such as the dictation from some of the supermarkets. The supermarkets want to sell processed food as quickly and cheaply as possible, and to hell with the health consequences, to hell with the high salt content, to hell with the high sugar content. There is now an understanding in society that sugar is the killer. They used to say it was fat. Sugar is the killer. Sugar has no dietary health at all. Fat at least has some dietary health to it. Sugar has nothing. It is simply about taste. And yet our food is over pollinated by sugar. Why don't we regulate the industry more so that we actually tax companies that are putting too much sugar in the food? We make them, through taxation policy, make our food healthier. These times people will say, oh, but Tommy, you don't want a nanny state. I hear that all the time. I say, why not? Why do we want a nanny state? Because if you don't have a nanny state, you have a free-for-all. And when you have a free-for-all, the poor and the vulnerable and the sick and the disabled, they end up getting left aside. I don't want that to happen. I do want a state that actually intervenes in the industries that matter to people's lives. Like energy, like food, like health, we need to have the state involved.
But the state's involved, like in America and all, the state's involved in the corporations all the time. We have to take it back. Isn't the state's involved in all the countries? They're just accepting all the, like the food laws.
Yeah, the state's involved.
Graham, obviously our concept of the state and America's concept of the state will be two different things. The state and big business in America is the one and the same thing. You know, there is no, I mean, they call it democracy in America. Aye, if you've got £500 million, you can stand for the president, right? It's just pathetic. So there's a different concept altogether from what we're talking about here. We're talking about proper regulation. I don't think that we should have state ownership of the food industry. But you know what? See if state regulation doesn't work, then that's the next stage. That's the next stage. I think we can make business work for people instead of businesses working for themselves. That's what we've got to do. There was a lady at the side here, and
Lorna.
hi Lorna, how's it going? I never even recognised you there. And Dave as well. I was waving at Dave when he was sitting there.
How can we fight against the BBC, who have daytime programmes aimed at the jobless and the poor, basically saying, you are poor and you will be content with your lot. And the programmes like Saints and Scroungers, and they make people who have got low pay and they can't afford a computer for their children for their schoolwork, and they've got to go to the library each night. And this BBC buys them a computer because they are poor, but they are saints. And then you get the scroungers who have the cheek to have cancer and not work. How do we fight against the BBC? You know, because people tune into these programmes and then they begin to believe that they've got to be content with a lot.
There's two approaches I would take to Lorna. Number one, I would advise any of you that to use your laptops if you want this bit of information. Go home and key in Public Commercial Services Union tax evasion, PCS tax evasion report. They've done a detailed analysis, just been this bit about scroungers. A detailed analysis which shows every single year across the UK, £120,000 million uncollected tax from the rich and the millionaires, from the corporations, the companies like Boots, the companies who think that they can get away with the taxes for the little people. We've got to turn the spotlight on the real tax evaders. It's no ordinary people, it's the big corporations and the millionaires. The second approach I would take, Lorna, obviously the BBC needs to be completely and utterly overhauled. We need a Scottish broadcasting corporation. It is completely and utterly biased. I've been watching up until, I don't know how it went today, but up until recently, every single day of this week, I've been spewing blood at the commentators on the BBC talking about the migrant crisis, the BBC. This is toffs sitting in some boardroom deciding editorial lines that their commentators should take. Instead of talking about human beings, instead of talking about refugees, migrants. It's a bloody disgrace. And we own the bloody thing. So we need a complete overhaul. We need a Scottish Broadcasting Corporation. But I've also got to say this to you. Let's be clear. we've also got a weapon now that we didn't have before, and it's called the social media. Because let's face it, the referendum campaign, if it had been left to the mainstream media, think about it, 19 bloody newspapers in Scotland